Living longer, living healthier, living better than ever before. Welcome to Mountain Pacific's Healthy Living for Life, a weekly series that gives you the information, education, and expert insight you need to become an active participant in today's ever-changing healthcare climate. Here now is today's program host.
In the United States, distraction while driving contributes to 16% of all fatal crashes and more than 1,000 injuries a year. Distracted driving is more than teens madly texting while cruising down the road. Distracted driving is anyone of any age driving while doing any activity that takes attention away from driving. Learn about the dangers of distracted driving in this edition of Healthy Living for Life, a show dedicated to helping you do just that. I'm Beth Brown, your host. Stay tuned. Welcome back. My first guest this morning joins us from AAA. Welcome to Heidi.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Can we just start out, Heidi, by talking about the prevalence of distracted driving?
Sure. So distracted driving is anything that takes your attention away from driving. And it can be something as simple as talking to the passenger next to you or reaching behind you to grab something from your car. Looking at your phone is a visual distraction because it takes your eyes off the road. Something like texting is a manual distraction because it takes your hands off of the steering wheel. Mm-hmm. And then also there's a cognitive distraction, which is where your mind wanders and you're not focused on driving.
Okay, sure. And you know, cars these days have a lot more features than they used to. A lot of technology is now being added to those cars. You can now send text messages and do hands-free cell phone use. Is that a good thing, or is that also potentially a problem when it comes to distracted driving? You
know, that's something that AAA has been working on in a multi-year study. And what they found is that those in-vehicle type of features are actually more distracting than a handheld device or a hands-free device. What happens is that people are concentrating on the in-vehicle technology, and it takes an average of about 30 seconds for them to then refocus on the road.
Wow, okay. So, and you mentioned earlier the cognitive distraction. Can you talk a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So a cognitive distraction is anything that takes your mind off the road. If you're driving and you happen to miss your exit, which I think we all probably unfortunately have done from time to time, that is a cognitive distraction. And we need to be really cognizant of that and be focused on what we're doing. And then those in-vehicle technologies are cognitive distractions as well, because you're focused on what that in-vehicle technology is and you're not focused on the road.
Okay, sure. And now when we think of distracted driving, lots of times we think of cell phones, and they're so prevalent now. Is that a big one for distracted driving?
You know, distracted driving can be any type of distraction, but cell phones are the most prevalent type of distracted driving. If you think about it, it takes about 5 seconds to either read or send a text. And in those 5 seconds, if you're traveling 55 miles an hour, you've traveled the entire length of a football field with virtually your eyes closed. So that's really scary when you think about it that way.
Yeah, it is. And you know, teens have basically not known a life without cell phones. Are they a big part when it comes to cell phones and distracted driving?
Absolutely. You know, as a parent of teenagers, this is really something that I live with every day, and it's a real fear. We live in this age of connectiveness, and with that, kids are always on their phone. They're also battling the draw of Snapchat and apps such as that. Yep. So it's a real issue. In fact, of teen deaths on highways, distracted driving is a #1 cause, and 6 out of 10 crashes that are moderate to severe with teens involve distracted driving as well.
Wow, gosh, that is sad. So what about groups of folks more around our age?
Sure. So the other infracting group is young millennials. We're around our age is more minimal, and then seniors are actually one of the safest driving groups.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah. Except for, I know that with some of the older folks, that some of that technology is new to them. Do they struggle with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the one in the senior demographic. When you're looking at those in-vehicle technologies, we recommend that seniors really know how to understand how to use those systems, because it does impede their cognitive ability when they're trying to do that as well as drive. In fact, we really recommend that with those in-vehicle technologies, people only use them for emergency situations.
Okay, and that's good advice. So when you think about, I think most people understand that distracted driving is not a good thing, that you should be paying attention to the road. But why do you think it's still something that happens? So cell phones, for example, why are people still texting and driving when they know it's not safe?
You know, we live in this era of connectiveness, and we feel obligated to return every text and to respond to every Facebook comment. And really what we need to do when we're driving is silence our phone. And if we can't do that, we need to put it in a space where we cannot have access to it so that we don't have that draw. Because really when it comes down to it, any text message, email, or Facebook post is not worth your safety or the safety of anyone else on the road.
Okay, great. That's great advice. And then two, I know I have been one also where all of a sudden I'm on autopilot because I've been on that road or I know where I'm going. What's advice for folks who maybe are getting caught up in that cognitive distraction where they're just letting their mind go?
You know, it's really hard to do that, especially in areas like Montana where we have so many highway miles. It's important to remind yourself to be focused on what's in front of you and to be actively driving and take that responsibility.
Okay, so it's just being conscientious of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
You got to snap out of it.
Yeah, you got to snap out of it.
Okay, perfect, Heidi. Thank you so much. That's a lot of great information
Thank
and
you.
good advice. As we head to break, I want to thank Heidi for the great information. Up next, we're going to hear about JC Good, a victim of distracted driving. Please stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages.